Hi everyone, it's Tracy here from Art Fiber Stitch. Well, we're at part 3 of this project and I'd like to finish it. I'm just showing you what we've done. Remember, we were working on this fern in the past episode and we were doing some French knots. So I'm going to start where I left off. I'm looking at that orange thinking I could bring in another colour, but I have this already loaded. I have some thread and I'm just going to do some more French knots because they look great. And remember, I did some on little stems. That's called a pistol stitch. I did some loose loopy ones. I did some nice tight French knots, and I sort of random higgledy-piggledy up the outside edges of this fern, and it looked really good to start with. So continuing on, let's just have a look at some of the bits that we still want to work on. So that fern, definitely. What else do I have? Yeah, it goes all the way up. I also have a sort of a ghost of a fern over there. I'd like to bring it out. I'd like to do something with all of that peach there. That needs some seed stitch or something to calm it down. I still have to attach those two green stems. You know, there's bits and pieces that I need to do. But it's coming along nicely and I think it's going to look really good. Now you can see here I'm working on this. I did some fly stitch originally and that created the stem of this, and I'm having these little, well, maybe I'll do some more little stripes off and some more French knots, and I think that will be it on that fern. I think it'll look good by the time we're finished. Might bring in a few different colors, you know. Right, let's go on. Now when I've got a color on my needle and I want to get to another area and continue using it, sometimes I just like to add in a few stitches on my way past rather than end off and then start again somewhere else. So I'm just doing a few seed stitches here. You know, it's bringing a little bit of that color that we've already used into our leaf, so that's okay. I'm just doing small patches of seed stitch. Are great because they all different directions and it looks good. It highlights, it shades. Let me show you something. In essence, what we're doing is drawing with stitches. So sometimes I'll be using a running stitch to outline something, thick and thin stitches, different thickness yarns. And look at these apples. Here's a good example. The one on the right looks flat. The one on the left had all of these colors and shades in it. That's why I like seed stitch. You can see how it adds to it. So as I'm going, all of these small patches of seed stitch are going to add a bit of oomph, a bit of color, a bit of something. And it stops me having to start and stop again. So I'm working my way over to the bottom of the leaf because the fern is over there, the bottom half of the fern. But do you remember in the last episode where we cut some of these little bits out because it was looking too much of a block of colour? Well, I'm just going to add some seed stitches there too, and that will blend it out a little bit. But I'm nearly down now to the fern, and I'll add in some more French stitches there. French knots, sorry. Meandering from place to place like this is very enjoyable. I don't ever finish one particular area completely, you know. I might add a little something as I'm going past again. Who knows? Let's have a closer look though. See the running stitch outline, bunches of seed stitch, and here, you see we've got some nice little feathery edges almost on our fern from doing that series of French knots. And now a bit of seed stitch in there, that worked out well. When you look at it closely, you can see all the little stitches that make up the overall. But you know, it's like a artwork that you really should be looking from a distance. There's a patch there of dark blue or dark teal. See? Seed stitch. And just that little tiny bit there, when we get it further away, see how it's darkened it, and it makes that look three-dimensional. Like the edge of that leaf is curling under. That's the idea anyway. But really, I just like playing with colour. Right, here's one of the other areas I wanted to work on. See, we put that apricot coloured sheer fabric that we laminated down, appliqued down. I'm wanting to do a little bit of stitchery there, and I'm going to use slightly different colour, and I'm making it more of a goldy kind of colour, so that would change the whole look of that apricot. And then we'll work over into that other leaf we wanted to do something with. You know, it's sort of making it blend in with the other leaf, which has a lot more yellow in it. So I'm working over to the other leaf now. You know, it's a bit of a block as well of colour, isn't it? So I'll just be adding a few bits and pieces, some central, you know, veins, lines in there to try and leaf it up a bit. I'm also going to continue that colour, and I'm going to go up into that blank space. Still leaf, because I've done an outline of the leaf there. It just sort of shades that apricot block of colour in a little bit better to just do something like that. Let's have a look. Hopefully you can see that. Let's just add a little tinge of colour, but I will do a little bit more. And you know, this is something that I just have to keep working on. I love it, but I have to stop at some stage. I keep seeing things I've got to do. But I think what we'll do is, I don't want this video to go on forever. I think you're getting the idea of what I'm trying to do. So I'm just going to load up some stranded cottons now. They're lighter, they're finer. We've already done a lot of stuff that's been very chunky. Chunky. But for this, I'm thinking we'll make it lighter, an outline. Let me have a go. You can see that's where I am. Some stranded cotton, because it's finer, I think it's going to work better. And I want something green. Catching that. Now look at that one. That one would blend right in if I needed just a faint thing. I love this one. It's a nice sort of, oh, yeah, that's nice. Olivey green. What else do we have? That one's different again, isn't it? Could do. Yeah, I think that'll do me for now. You're pretty as well, but you're not adding much to it at the moment. Alright, so I'm going to use one of these to start. The darkest one. Well, because I'm not sure, I'm only going to use like 1 or 2 strands of it, because I'm just not sure if what I'm doing is going to be any good or not. Right. What I'm planning is to do a little running stitch kind of outline if I can. And it needs to be far more delicate. Far more delicate. So I'm just going to take, should I do 1 strand? Maybe on this one I'll do 2, and then maybe I can do another one in the further distance, and it would be 1 strand. Don't know what I'm doing here. There we go. Right, so I've got my 2 strands. And what I'm going to try and do is pick out a vague kind of fern shape there with a bit of a running stitch. I think we'll have a go now and see how that pans out. Never be frightened to sort of think, well, I don't know, because you can take it out or you can add to it. I mean, mostly I've just added to this until I'm getting it closer to what I want. It changes personalities all the time. So I already have a bit of an idea where this thing's going. So let's have a go. Just going to do some little stitches. And I'll go around. See what I mean? And come back in here. And then something that'll just suggest to us more that that's what we're trying to do. Do one stitch at a time, or you can do a run of stitches. And I'm making this up, so. But I think that could work, don't you? A suggestion of the outer leaf, and then we could do a little something. So, I don't know if I like that darker colour, but I knew it would be dark. All right, I think we can do this. I think we'll just keep going and see how it pans out. And of course, this one we did wasn't perfect, so I don't want all of those little bits of what is it, you know, the sticky outy bits. I don't want all of those to be the same. I'll have thick and I'll have thin, and I'll just do a little bit of variety. So like in here, I might go all the way in for a bit. You know, I don't want it to be all the same distance apart and things like that. That wouldn't work for me. I want it to be more organic looking. So I'm going to do that to start with. Because I really don't want it to stand out too much. I pop in some of that colour. I've added in some of that running stitch that we put on that fern on the outside of this original fern as well. Very, very light. But it's just to sort of make them appear like their family, you know, that they are similar. Have a look now at, see how I added just a few French knots on that one. You know, we had it on the other, but this is a much paler, much less noticeable fern, but it is related. I know I've said it before, but it does bear repeating. It's a fantastic exercise for somebody that wants to do some creative work. Start with a print like that. Use a leaf print, something that's already there, and just add to it. A little bit of slow stitching like that is just so good for the soul, and it's so transportable. I can pick that up and I can take that with me with just a few threads and a needle and some snips, and away I go. And you'll always find more to add, believe me. It's a very mindful exercise. So I hope you give it a go. Just explore where it goes. Have no preconceived idea of how you want it to be, and just play. That's the fun of fabric art. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm going to finish it here. I'll just show you a few more pictures. If you've liked it, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.